And recording has started.
2026 budget workshop. SWPRD Parks and Recreation District is called to order at 6:02 p.m. We have a quorum present.
All right. Well, I didn't put on the public comments, but I think that's more for next month, and we have no one for public comments anyways. So thank you for being here tonight. Looking forward to presenting two versions of the budget to you tonight. One version if the levy were to pass in November, and one version if it doesn't. Extreme kudos to Carrie for the amount of work it takes to put together two full budgets while being audited by the state at the same time. So she needs caffeine, if anyone has any ideas. So what I'd like to start with is the document I included, not in your packet, but in front of you, which is kind of an overview. I thought it would be helpful just to kind of see how this compares to what this year's budget is. It's on the screen as well. On this document, you see three columns. The first column is what we're estimating this year's budget to be, the 2025 budget. And I'll scroll down a little bit here in a second. The second column is what our budget is if the levy doesn't pass. And the third column is what it is if it does pass. And what I'd like to kind of point out is the first two columns, which is this year's compared to as if it doesn't pass. Because if it doesn't pass, that means we're staying at the same rate we are now. And I'd just like to kind of show you that we're not making drastic changes. So it's a very similar budget to what you passed last year. With the revenue, as you can see, is pretty similar. There's a couple grants that we had last year that we don't have this year, which is fine. And again, I'm not going to go in detail here. I'm just kind of giving this to you as an overview. Couple things to highlight. If the levy was not to pass, which is kind of this middle column, this is we would take out the capital projects for next year, which would be things like the asphalting of Trussland Trails, the parking lot for the sports complex. So we just got those out because we would need the revenue to go towards other things. So this is kind of the side by side. You'll see the loan payments went from $29,000 to $229,000. That's because this reflects having an LTGO bond next year towards the second half of the year. So just very similar. That's kind of the main point of this, is just to point out that it's very similar to what you passed last year. And then if you look at what, let's be more optimistic, is internally what we call the happy budget, which is if the levy does pass. And you'll see some of the big differences is obviously we'll have a lot more revenue. And in the public meetings, okay.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
You mentioned Trussland Trails, asphalting. What were some of the other things that if it passed would be in hybrid?
Yeah, there's three, I think. I'm forgetting the third, but one is that's
a big one.
Yeah, and
which would come out, is that what you're asking? Which ones would be
that's
postponed?
And the parking lot at the sports complex, let me clarify that, because we will have a gravel pad there where people can park, but part of the budget for next year, if it does pass, would be to asphalt that, so it's a nicer parking lot. And there was a third thing, I think, but I'm not, maybe that was it.
There's fencing, which we're talking about moving, right?
Right, fencing's this year.
That's that quick.
Right, what's being taken out? Yeah.
Oh, a mower.
That's right. That's right.
Asphalt and parking.
Yeah, those three.
Replacing what?
The more.
Oh, yeah.
Basically about Trussland Trail, asphalt, and the parking for football.
Yeah. And yeah, what we did, and we'll talk about this later in one of the memos, is we had we'll talk about later. Well, there's some things we moved around in the budget, but those are the big things that wouldn't happen next year if it doesn't pass. And we'd look at doing those in a future year. So all important things, but nothing that would devastate us as a department, things that could be postponed if we had to. Then down here, I highlighted in yellow some things that I think are just noteworthy. The project expenses, I commented on that, which is that we'd be, if it does pass, we obviously would be keeping the capital projects. $300,000 for operational expenses for the pool. This is the staff that we would hire late in 2026 to get ready for the opening of the pool: HR manager, aquatics manager, facility coordinator. And then beginning cash will be a challenge if it doesn't pass. I mean, again, our operational costs are going to go up, so the 25% beginning cash is going to be a challenge. We'll be okay, but it's going to be tight. And then the last one here, our reserves. It's just going to take longer to get our reserves to where we want to get them if it doesn't pass. We're losing some of that upfront money that we wouldn't have otherwise.
It'll take us a long time.
A long time is a good way to put it.
Question.
Sure.
about beginning cash that's going up. That is based on the aquatic center opening, correct?
Operational budget for the. Yes, we need more beginning cash because our expenditures are.
Yes,
Yes.
the requirement for beginning cash going
Yeah.
up. Yeah, 25%.
However, the levy doesn't pass. The aquatic center is not open.
We're not presenting to you a budget that doesn't have a pass levy. So
Eventually.
the it doesn't pass levy has it passing in 26. And so because there's to give you a thing that doesn't pass, we're gone. And the parks are closed. It'll pass at some point. So the best we could do is give you either it passes in November or it passes sometime in 26, which hopefully it passes in November, but we could have multiple swings at it in 26 if we had to, which would be challenging, but we could do it. Expensive and
That was
challenging.
looking at the bigger.
The forecast.
The bigger forecast,
Mhm.
right? So regardless of whether the levy passes in 2025 or 2026,
Mhm.
we have the same estimate for aquatic center revenue for the first year.
For 27. Right. That's actually a good catch because we would open later. Yeah, that's a good catch. We'd want to adjust that. Yeah. That's a good catch. We're
I'm sorry, was that revenue or expense?
revenue.
Revenue.
So we're going to want to prorate that down.
Yeah.
Good
And
catch.
probably some changes I would make to the expenses as well, because it's opening.
Yeah. And we did do some of that. We talked about, 2/3 versus half and how quick, but that's a good catch. That would impact revenue. Didn't catch that. Thank you.
This again is just a simple majority. It's not a.
No, it's a super majority.
Oh, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
60.1.
60 and a vote, 60%.
60.
Actually 60% flat would do it. So if it's okay, I'll go over to the memo and we'll plenty of time for more questions. But let me hop over to, do you have something?
I just wanted to, so the calculations that are on the bottom half of the forecast. In both scenarios, we have the choice to, they're calculated, right? 25%. I would say that we would probably not do a calculation and just say, this is how much we're going to set aside for beginning cash. This is how much we're going to set aside for reserve. And we could postpone,
Oh,
I think you mentioned this,
yeah.
and we could postpone, like the meeting the capital reserve requirement. I think that's a lesser priority than the other two.
We would come back to you with some of those kind of options. Like, do we have to put this much into reserves this year? Could we put that off a year so that, we have the money available? So I think we're in a good spot either way. Obviously, if it passes, it's going to be much simpler and we're not going to have to cut things. But we're, if we do have to, we do have to, and we've got a plan in place. Just quickly, I'm just going to read through kind of the notes of the budget that are worth noting. We just found out last week that the health insurance costs are now going up 25% for staff. That's a huge unexpected number. We had budgeted a 10% bump initially. So the current your budget in front of you reflects the 25%, but we have asked our broker to shop the plan and see what else they have that might be comparable. And so we're meeting with them on the 31st to see if there's another option that could be, we don't want to reduce services, but at the same time, we kind of want to know what our options, because that's a huge, particularly as we're looking at adding staff, that's a big number. So for now,
Is that you and famous like?
No.
It's a different.
Yeah, it's what's the name of the company we deal with up in Freeland?
Oh, J. Johnson Insurance is the
Yeah,
broker.
that's the broker, and then it's Regents that
Regents.
we have.
Region.
Yeah.
Health.
So
And then we have Delta Dental and Principal Life.
Is UMP an option since it's a public entity?
I don't know. Those are things we can talk about.
Features.
Yeah.
And it's less than those other. Nicer.
Yeah, we'll ask. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, so that get particularly looking at
Was
a
it U
UMP.
M?
N, I think, Nancy.
UM.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. For now, we've taken out the revenue and expenditures from the triathlon out of the budget. We're still evaluating. We haven't made a decision yet. The financial and participation numbers. We've also, Sky has reached out to triathlon organizations. I think I've commented before, we are the only government agency that I can find in the state of Washington that runs a triathlon by themselves. So we have reached out to see if someone just wants to take this over, if they want to, whatever role they want to play. So we have got a response from one, and we're kind of playing phone tag to set a meeting to see what their interest level is. We won't get into the triathlon tonight. We will be back for a deeper conversation. I've also got some short version. This Department of Fish and Wildlife, I found out today, is also working with their legal counsel about concerns about having the triathlon there, just because of the liability and stuff like that. So they're going to get back to me too. So, anyways, long story short, for this year's budget or next year's budget, we've just taken it out. If we need to put it back in, we can. But I'll be back either next month or probably December, one of those months, to have a deeper conversation about the triathlon. At the strong recommendation of Jim Nelson, who's our bond guy, in preparation of our upcoming bond rating, we have gone from a 6-year projection to a 10-year projection, which is a little, I mean, who knows? I mean, Carrie did a great job of doing really intelligent approaches to this, but to be able to tell people what our budget's going to be in 10 years but it's what they wanted, so we gave it to them. So you'll see a 10-year projection instead of a 6-year projection. In the budget includes the $191,448 that you approved a few months ago for the administrative space. Levy estimates were lowered due to the actual 2026 values that were given to us by Island County. We were waiting for those. And this is probably not an issue, but could be, so to kind of save the dates. If on the 19th of November, which is our next board meeting night, the election isn't decided yet, then we're going to have a special meeting by the 26th, because that's the day we have to give Island County our budget. So it's a real tight window because the election has to be certified by the 25th. So again, worst case scenario, if we get to the next board meeting and they don't know, we're either going to have an evening meeting the night of the 25th, or we're going to have a day meeting because we have to have it submitted during the day of the 26th, which is the 2 days before Thanksgiving. It can be a virtual meeting, can be a 5-minute meeting. We just have to have 3 of you saying pass this budget so that we can get, and we have to have signatures, which honestly, we might just have signatures in advance that we can submit accordingly. So don't record that. Just kidding. Yeah, and that's right. We just need 3 of you to be around. So don't think it's gonna be an issue. Good chance the election will be decided and we'll present at the budget hearings, the official budget, but just kind of keep that in mind. We might need a quick special meeting. Notes if the levy passes that are relevant. This does include, as I mentioned before, hiring some key staff for the end of 2026 for the Aquatic Center. It includes money to pay up the reserves and the beginning cash to meet the new operation budget, and includes $1 million to go towards construction, which would reduce our LTGO loan that we're going to have to take out. So these are all things that were told to the public, and I think the public appreciated us having a plan. If the levy does not pass, some things that are going to be impacted is we will have to we put $75,000 in the budget for an election, and there could be multiple elections. If the second one didn't pass, we can do February, April, August, and November. So again, I don't think we're going to have to, but I'm just saying these are the realities. Roughly, we don't know the exact number. It's around 70 to 75.
That's like an off
Yes.
season one.
Right. If it was November, it'd be much cheaper.
When we estimated it last time, it was for the bond. Remember, we were like thinking an off season one, and that was 75. But if it's the November one, it's like 10,000 maybe.
So it comes down to, it gets a little more complicated if it doesn't pass. We just as a savings, because if it doesn't pass, we're not adding staff next year. So we reduce the number of dependents covered by health insurance. Again, health insurance went up to the more real number. We know kind of how many are being covered right now, and there's no plans from what we know of people adding dependents. And again, as I mentioned before, all capital items were removed from that budget, including the asphalt work and the parking lot. And we would at least suggest, if not suspend, the transfer to capital reserves in light of the coming cash reserve shortfall. So those are some of the impacts of the budget, or I'm sorry, the levy not passing. So we have a plan both ways. I'm not too stressed. I mean, we're less than 2 weeks away at this point. So it was, and I'll give an update a little bit more on our that later. But any questions about the budget? I know some of you have already asked questions and gotten some answers, but
Can I add something?
Please.
before I ask a question?
please.
So the line where, like the net revenue and expenses. So
Where it passes.
either one, the colorful line. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, total revenue and expenses. So I will probably play with the capital budget a little bit to make the timing of capital purchases, make it so that our net is even more, so that it's not red anywhere is the plan. We'll always have trouble at the end of a 4-year levy, 4th year, where everything has gone up and yeah,
Yes.
but we only go up 1%, but inflation has gone up 3% and staffing and everything. Anyway, so I'll try to do some adjusting. So you might see that change, but it probably won't be discussed a lot at the meeting because it's forecasting. It's not the actual budget, but
So kind of to that, the looking at that total line, it's scary for, if the levy passes, it's scary for 2028 and 2029.
Oh, yes.
Whereas if it doesn't pass until next year, that's why 2030. Because that's the end. I just want to make sure I understand the timing.
Yeah,
This.
the current if the current levy passes, the new levy would start in 2030. If it doesn't pass, the new levy would start in 31.
But I guess my question was like, so if the levy does pass in 2025, both 28 and 29, those nets are probably a little closer than we would like them to be.
mhm.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not seeing quite the same pattern if the levy doesn't pass.
Okay,
Like we just have one really negative year.
right.
Mhm.
Oh, why does it look better almost if it doesn't pass? Is that I don't know.
So first of all, it
Like,
does assume, so say that our levy doesn't pass, right? Then our new levy, if you look
It would
at,
start in 2027.
if you look at 27 for both scenarios, 27 will actually have more money in the levy doesn't pass scenario because
So
we'll have another year of accumulation of, yeah.
Gotcha.
That
Okay.
makes
So, yeah, so there's that.
yeah, so the
And
start
then
of this.
also, I'm moving things around in the budget.
I'm just trying to understand, like,
Yeah.
I understand how that last year is always
Gonna be tight.
tight, like, I get that, but I was just trying, okay.
Because so you're saying the starting point would be higher in 27 because you have another year of assessed value going up,
Yeah.
logically at least. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And based on my estimate, and I really, so the levy, did we mention that in there? That
What's
the
that?
levy amount was lower than we had originally
Yes.
estimated?
And then we
Okay.
adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, and I thought I was really using a very conservative number. It was the lowest number of any, like 10-year, 5-year, any history, and it was the lowest one, and it was even lower than that.
Wow.
It was like, what did they say, 2%?
Yeah.
2.8 or something like that.
I would say 2.6, but it could have been
And that was
higher.
from the.
So it's 2 point something less
Instead
than
of-
what you were.
It was like a 2% 2 point something increase instead of a 3 point something increase or something like that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to pull up the budget, I have the calculations, but if they're curious.
they didn't provide any, reasoning or
Why don't you pull up the budget and go to the levy calculations tab? And
Yeah, please.
you guys can see this, right? Okay. So
Bless you.
see this orange figure?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the lowest average growth rate. So I used that one. But then 3.8, and then I can't remember what it ended up being. So, but you can see like these figures over here vary quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it just has to do with where they're in the cycle of reassessing everybody, or if they give people a break when things are bad.
No, they don't give people.
Okay, all right.
They do.
I mean, not in general, but I mean, how they assess the properties.
And we have 2026% now.
We got 2020. No, we got 2025 numbers.
2020.
Yeah.
2026.
Oh yeah, I guess.
So they're determined on market value. Those market values are determined based upon
Shopping. People spending. Yeah.
actual
Yeah,
purchases.
so-
Sales.
we
Yeah,
get some-
place.
So we get some more houses sold. That would be good.
So, but they're looking at data 12 to 18 months in arrears,
Mhm,
right? Because you have to have the data to analyze the data to figure out how to,
mhm.
yes. And so things went crazy in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
On the south
I've seen
side,
that.
properties were selling as much as 106 or 110% of the list price. Instead of what's normal, which is 92 to 95. So kind of create this little bubble.
And I think that wasn't there a factor where they were just behind in their updating assessments, actually assessing. The county was just behind.
Well, so there's seven areas it's on the rotation, and so each year they have to do one of those.
Yeah.
Where they actually physically have to go out and put eyes on the properties.
Yeah.
The other 6 is just
Interesting. So this is where, yeah. So Carrie keeps getting curveballs like this thrown at her, and then she's got to go back to 2 sets of spreadsheets and Yeah.
Or to just watch it again.
be so simple. You only have to do one. Of
Let's drink on, sit down.
course, next year's budget will have all of the detailed operations of the aquatic center, but I won't tell you that yet. Let's just get through this one. Let's just get This is a Disney night. A lot of kids outside. You hear laughter. What? Any other questions about the budget or concerns? That's pretty similar to last year's, with the exception of the levy passes. We have a little more money that we have to allocate, but again, we've got a pretty responsible plan. I think that was in the public meetings. That was a question that came up at both meetings, and I think we're satisfied with the answer of we're not just going to take the extra surplus next year and buy a fancy desk. I mean, we've got a plan to put it right back into the community, into the project. So I think people are happy with that answer. So if there's no questions, or no other questions, I should say, then the plan will be to let the election happen on the 4th. Comments back. Are we done with comments? Is this trying to remember? Do we allow for any more times on comments usually?
I think the only other thing that has come up since sending this out was the possibility of our year end needing to move some of the pickleball project into next year.
Right. We might have a budget amendment coming because, and we'll get into this later, the pickleball project's got a little twist. I'll leave you with a little suspense. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So for the budget, the plan is to the 19th to have one budget in front of you for approval. Either the levy passed or the levy doesn't. Worst case, if we don't know on the night of the board meeting, then we will just have a regular meeting and we will reassemble the next week to pass whatever budget's appropriate. So that's the plan. All right. And I think we're good.
Then the budget hearing is adjourned at 6:27. The October 2025 meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the Southwood Parks and Recreation District is called to order at 6:27. We have a quorum present. Any public comments?
There are no public comments. Yes, pretty simple this month. Through September, similar to the last few months, we're showing these are the revenues we'll start with here. We've brought in about a little over $20,000 more than we anticipated, while the expenditures are about $200,000 less than we expected. So those trends of more revenue and less expenditures continue, which is good. Our fund balances again are pretty similar. We are planning to spend this $11,407 over the next month or so. So we're going to reduce this down to $500, leaving a $500 number in that capital fund. And so we will remove this from future meetings when that happens. We'll notify you that it's done. So we're going to buy a bunch of gravel, which will be used. And so that's going to take care of that. But the bond fund, the reserve, and the M&O. Yep, sure. Sure. Lots of places as we get into the fall, so Max Welton is certainly one of the locations. And we're using different pots of money for this, but a lot of it, we're gonna have a lot of gravel up at the sports complex as we do all that. But this time of year, a lot of trail maintenance, when I was walking the community park today, I noticed a few spots that were just bare. And so the guys will get out and just, so yeah, it'll get spent well. So the balances are doing good. Our construction fund is coming down. So we've used a little under $2 million to date. Our contingency, you see, is about 2.8 million, or 2.7 million, excuse me, which is still more than 10% of our budget, which is still good. Again, I think I've said this before, but as the earth moves, this is when a lot of contingency requests come in, because there's a lot of that. This is what I've been dealing with for the last week, just the unknowns under the earth. What kind of soil you're dealing with? Is it compactable? All the little things that are kind of the unknown. So this is a time where you kind of expect some contingency money to go. So far, it hasn't gone fast. Our project manager is a bit of a bulldog. He will argue with you over a $20 stapler and tell you that it's on you to pay for it. So love him. He's saving us a lot of money as he's advocating on our behalf pretty regularly these days as different requests come in from the contractor, from different people. So he's it's kind of fun to watch. So anyways, but the balance is looking good. You see, we've got a little over $500,000 in interest at this point off the 15 million. And we'll talk a little bit about getting that $12 million later. That's in the process now too. So, but no, yeah, everything financially is going well. So,
but no big curveballs when you're mentioning soil and things.
There's
That's the question that comes up.
Yeah, there was one today. We have a geotech that's our geotech that does the earthwork that we hired separate from Lincoln, that they come in right now. They've been coming in regularly to continually test the soils, right? To make sure that it's compacting, to make sure that that when we lay asphalt or a building on top of it, it's going to settle 100% with no issues. So they found a location in the parking lot that was not settled. It was not good soil. It was bad, for lack of a better way to put it. So that got dug up, and structural fill, good stuff that is 100% no problems, got put in its place. Long story short, I don't think we're paying for that. Logically, we might still have to pay something. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And it's about a $90,000 job to pull the stuff out and to put the new stuff in. So, but nothing that's really been earth-shattering that's knocked us out so far. So ARC likes to brag, that's our design team, they like to brag about a about a 10% contingency is how much gets used on their average projects. So they like to brag that that their designs are so good, because that's when contingency comes in a lot of times, is there's mistakes in the design. So they brag on that. So I'm hoping to hold them to it. So the answer to your question is no, there has not been any earth shattering. Even the soil they found that was bad, that needed to be replaced, was in the parking lot. So it wasn't under what would actually be the pool. So so far so good.
Sidebar, just sort of walking. So that's why I asked.
Yeah.
You don't know until you start digging.
Right. And that could have, I mean, that's why we have 10% plus contingencies. I mean, there could be other issues, but once we get through the land work, and I'll feel a lot better about that contingency number. I feel good about it now. So that is the overview of where we are financially. If without any objections, I'll move on to vouchers. And just a few highlighted vouchers that I thought would be worth mentioning. Sorry, I didn't have that at the top. You scroll down to the highlighted ones. There we go. Sorry. This was just because it's another large check in my name, and this is my fault. Several months ago, I think it was early in the year or so, you guys approved credit card increases so we could not get stuck like we did with this. And it's not simple to increase your credit card limit when you're a government agency. So it took a lot of back and forth with the bank, and we kind of sat on it for a while. So my point is we ran out of credit card money. So I just had to pay for the part of the postage for the mailing that we did. So that's why there's a check there. Did I pass it? Yeah, I went too fast. The school district, just pointing out that we're working with the school district now to figure out equitable rent for the community center. So we paid in the last month, the first 8 months of the year. Now we're on the monthly cycle. So we're continuing just the billing cycle that Sky has been working on forever. We haven't changed anything yet. They are working internally to figure out all of their rentals and things like that. So just pointing out that we're now going to start, until we come to terms on something different, we should start seeing gym invoices monthly. Yes, okay. Just making sure I'm not wrong. Visa had some interesting ones. This was not a dog, but Carrie did get a new laptop. Didn't we catch the typo? Thank you. Okay, good. The bench here for $1,000 was what you guys approved last month, which is ready to be put into the park. And then this was the mailing, half of the mailing that we did for the levy. And then you see down below, you see a bunch of things in here about pickleball. Sky went shopping with some of the money we had budgeted for the pickleball project. We had $10,000 set aside for a shed. Sky got it for about $3,000. Well done. Nice. Oh, okay. You got it for $6,000. Still good. But they'll come on site. They'll install it, right? They're going to put it right in place for us. So it's nice that we don't have to do any of that. Our guys don't. So that'll be here on November 5th, ready for pickleball players. And Sky's been working on signage and pickleball holders and all the little accessories that come with making the pickleball community happy. And we'll talk more about the pickleball project in a bit. I think that was it for my observations of the vouchers. Anything from any of you that you saw that was concerned? Okay. Well, then that is it for the financial report. I do love the background noise that's happening right now.
The consent agenda for the October.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Eric,
Jake,
Krista, aye. Jennifer, aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
Carrie seems very happy about that. Carrie loves the consent agenda. Yeah. I'm gonna see that in her glasses. Recreation report. The school district has taken over all the scheduling of the gyms, both the community center and the south campus here. Sky used to do all of that. and that's fine. They're their buildings, but they have a system in place. We've met with the new superintendent a couple times now to continue the dialogue. Really have to get a new interlocal agreement. Both sides agree. This was a conversation we started with the previous superintendent, but really thought appropriate to wait for the new superintendent to be here before we dove in, just to really lock down. We pay money for their gym, which kind of seems, how does the ILA fit into this as we look at shared space? And now we're looking at a pool where there could be swim teams and other things. So it's just really time. And Dr. Clifford has been very easy to work with at this point, as far as I think we all agree that we need to really have a detailed ILA that says, this is what's for free, this is what costs, this is how, and really have it more detailed than it is. Right now, it's very kind of loose. Like, you can give it to them for free is basically what it reads, both when we give them stuff for free and when they give us stuff. So anyway, so working on that. Winter registration is opening soon. Lots of stuff. Youth basketball is coming, the polar bear plunge, and the futsal is opening here in about a week or two. Sky is working with Coopville to try to develop a jamboree for our youth basketball participants, which would be really cool. And he also has reached out to the PE teacher, who has been very wonderful to work with so far. And she is going to incorporate a little dribblers into their November curriculum. So Sky with the Admirals basketball is also hoping to do a version of that in December. So whereas last month we weren't sure we'd be able to do it, now the school's actually going to be part of the solution of trying to teach basketball skills, which is great. So win-win. And then, as I mentioned before, Sky's working on the signage and all the other stuff for the outdoor pickleball courts. Staying busy. Facilities and grounds. Oh, yep, sure.
With, it's great not to have that. Is it still with our programming there?
It's a challenge. I think Sky can talk. It's new, first of all. I mean, we're still working out bugs.
Like on the
There's more
surface, it
steps
seems
on
like
it.
a good thing, but
I mean, there's more steps on it. I get that they want to, it's their belief they want to see it, but it was a lot easier to just look at the schedule, throw it on there, know that somebody at the community center knew that we were doing that, and now it's the process of having to submit an online form. Sometimes those aren't getting seen. With the gym over here, we'd always had use of that one from after school until whenever. But they started a separate calendar and had given from after school until 5 o'clock to the Boys and Girls Club. So that kind of takes a dent in what we could do as after school programs for the facility to use. But they've got one system now, but they're working on another different system that they'll be implementing this time as well.
So if we had our druthers, we would continue to do it. I think it worked for everybody because we're talking about 3 gyms, but it's their rooms, and all right. I mean, I don't have any trouble with it.
Yeah, I think the other thing is just knowing, like, with the elementary school field that we normally utilize in the winter and we've been taking care of, that's currently off limits because it's a construction zone, but the high school team's been using it, but we don't know once that's not a construction zone, what the intent is, or if they're going to schedule.
Yeah, that would be one that I think I would push a little harder that we need to continue to schedule, because that was our arrangement, was that we would schedule it if we maintain it. And I don't think they would fight me on that. I think they're fine. We're anticipating that field back in use by December 1st. The reason the high school team can play there is because it's a school staff. And so for liability reasons, the contractor who's on site there doing the playground didn't feel comfortable just community people using the field when there's a lot of kids around, because it's their liability. So to that end, that made sense. So they said right after Thanksgiving, they should be done with that, and then we should have access, which is good. That's about the time we need access for winter's soccer. So facility and grounds. Oh, good. Yeah, it'll be interesting what the school does with that field.
Well,
And
I just think from an administrative standpoint, just looking at this coming, don't want to set ourselves up for a fall. So somebody intent behind that might be also preemptive in what's coming down the road.
yeah, I will say I've appreciated Dr. Clifford and the team we worked with there. Initially, they came in with a whole bunch of thoughts and were kind of throwing those at us. And when we kind of questioned and pushed back, they were very open to saying, okay, we need to learn more and we need to understand more because there's a lot of history. There's a lot of why it works, why it doesn't work, what we've tried, what we haven't tried. So I think that's why we kind of all stood back and said, okay, let's take a step back and figure some things out. And I think it's been a pretty positive relationship at this point. And now we just got to the point where we're all just too busy to really dive too deep into it. So it might just keep rolling like this for a while. That's all right.
There was a time when it worked very, very well in terms of, right? But there was also a lot more gym space available.
Yeah.
And that kind of custodial going out of maximum, that's going to be
Yeah.
run. And I know that's going to continue to be,
Yeah.
you know, why certain things are, well, wait a minute here, who's going to fund the custodian part of this?
Yeah. I get that.
It is what it is.
It is what my favorite 12 letters. So the lake sites have been vandalized a couple times over the last month with graffiti. So we have a little tagger out again. So you'll see in the vouchers you saw paint. That's that. Still struggling to get a clean answer. I mean, Department of Fish and Wildlife are not prioritizing the closed bathroom at Lone Lake, but to be honest, too, we haven't got any calls on it. We did get a call that we pulled. I think the call was right. We had pulled the garbage cans for the season out at the lakes because fishing season is over. But Lone Lake is a year-round fishing lake, so got to work with Tom to get something back out there because if fishing's available, we should have something there. But trying to get an answer from the Department of Fish and Wildlife as to that. It was about 2 months ago that the fire vandalized and closed down that Lone Lake bathroom, so it's just not a priority. Is what I'm getting. But I keep hounding. And we'll get them out there as soon as we can. But we have got no calls on that, which surprises me. And I think part of it's because fishing season is not at its peak, so we're not getting as many people out there as we normally would. But still pounding. Yeah. I've got a great email from the guy who's in charge at the Fish and Wildlife that he's very responsive, Rob, and I would be happy to share that, and they can email him directly, and he responds. He's not one of these. He's a really good guy, I think, but I think a little pressure from the community, like, hey, wouldn't hurt because they're getting kind of tired of me. Yeah, or just
Sites or
yeah. I know Goss and Lone got hit. I thought he said all three. I'm not sure about Deer Lake. Yeah, someone with the spray paint. It's just so our guys get on it pretty quickly, so as not to encourage it to happen anymore. But as I mentioned earlier, Tom's out until next Wednesday, so he is on well-deserved vacation. Good news, we did receive. I mentioned this is a possibility before. We did receive an additional $45,000 from RCO towards the pickleball project. This will allow us to increase the contingency. We also expanded. I wish I had brought a picture. I apologize that I didn't. We had a little zigzag walking path before, so we kind of built out the asphalt so that there's a bigger patio there. It's about a 15-foot patio now on the side where we could easily put picnic tables or things like that. Since they were there, it was a lot cheaper just to get them to do that then. And that was like 15,000. So we still have quite a bit of this money left. So that was great that we got this extra money. It takes some of the pressure off of that project. We're in the process, as I mentioned before, of both a financial and an accountability audit. These are standard every 2-year audits. So Carrie has done a great job of getting them the documents they need. We're in the middle of this right now, so she's still getting them the documents while maintaining her other duties. We also, for the first time since I've been here, I've only been through 2 of these, the state auditor is actually coming on site Tuesday to spend the day. So we're looking forward to hosting her. In addition, we are about to begin the process of getting our updated bond rating so we can move towards securing the other $12 million from our 2023 bond. We can't start the bond rating until we have the audit done, which is why we're pushing the audit now. We normally wouldn't have pushed the audit before the budget season. But we're pushing that to get to the bond rating because the current bond rating schedule that we have has us getting the 12 million in early March. And by April or May or so, we've ran out of the 15 million. So we have about a month or two cushion. So we have to stay on that to make sure that there's no delays. And we've worked with our bond counsel as well as Jim Nelson to make sure that we just did this a year and a half ago. So it wasn't that long ago. So we're ready to kind of attack this. We will be, I kind of alluded to this before, but we talked about the parking lot money that's in next year's budget that may or may not happen if the levy passes. Well, that was initially in this year's budget. So what we did is we pushed that out, and in exchange, we moved the fencing, which was about 20,000, actually ended up being about 15,000, to continue the community park fencing this year. So that's actually going to be done in early December. So, we put that nice black fencing in the first half. In early December, they're going to continue that around field 3. So it's going to look really nice around the edges. And also I'll get into a little bit where we're spending the rest of that extra money this year. We did have to return. I honestly don't remember if I reported this, so I'm reporting it now. We did have to return the Department of Commerce solar array grant. There were simply deliverables in there that we couldn't meet. The grant was written with the belief that we could incorporate the design of the solar array into the design of the building. So it would have been done over the last couple of years. In other words, ARC could have done the design. It wasn't until about, I don't know, a year ago that ARC is like, no, we don't do that design. That gets hired by the contractor. So that's when I went back to the DOC and said, can we get an extension? Because we're not going to have a contractor at best case till summer of 25. And that's where they gave us a final extension through the end of this year, through December, which is why I had said in a previous meeting that if one of the reasons that if we didn't accept the bid, we'd have to turn this back. Well, as it turns out, they weren't as flexible with the deliverables. Deliverables were things like public meetings and committee meetings at schematic design, public meetings and committee meetings at design development, all the different stages that we went through over the last few years. Well, for something like this, that's not going to have all those stages. And we're not going to have 4 or 5 public meetings to talk about solar array development in the next 2 months. And what was the other deliverable that just wasn't? So as it turns out, he goes, well, you can submit a request to change your deliverables, but it'll take 2 to 3 months. And I said, well, 2 to 3 months, we're at the end of the year. And then we haven't even started the process. He goes, oh yeah. So it just wasn't, it's not the end of the world. It's on a side note, there is a meeting on November 10th with a few people from the community that are very passionate about fundraising this specific topic and wanting to raise about $500,000 to do the whole thing. And this would be a post pool opening project. I told them that we can't incorporate into this project now, but there's 15 kilowatt solar array panels on there now that give us a little bit of relief. The design that we had was for 150 kilowatt. So it's a huge difference to have this extra stuff on there. So anyways, I'm meeting with them on the 10th. They are very passionate about finding the money themselves and coming back to us in a year or two saying, we've got the money and please add it. So I said, great. So we're going to talk about that on the 27th. So it's not a dead project. The grant is dead, which is just for the design. So
It was talked about at the meeting, the public meeting.
Mhm.
It was talked about as part of the project. Because I think what you're saying is it has to be in several meetings specific to
Yes.
something like that.
yes, correct.
That's the difference.
Yes. And there was more than I'm forgetting off the top of my head. There were the deliverables. If I step back in time 3 years when this was written, deliverables make sense because they were the journey that we've taken over the last few years in this process. But if we knew then that the contractor had to hire the person and it's just a simpler process, those deliverables never would have been written and we would have been a lot better off. But I didn't know that they had the legal lockdown, no flexibility. I thought, well, they'll work with us. And he was a great guy that we're working with. And, they encouraged us to try again when, okay. Northwest Natural Waters, formerly King Water, they do our water testing. They were notified in May that our sports complex was in violation for not submitting testing results. Okay. I wasn't notified till August about this and tried for a couple months to get responses and what's happening and what can we do. And so the final letter came a week or so ago where the state basically said, you're still not in compliance. And if you don't get in compliance, one of the options is for us to do a public notification, basically shame you. So that amped me up again to keep hounding. So good news is the state finally got what they needed from Northwest Natural Water. The communication with us has been just very poor, honestly. I found out kind of through the state that, oh yeah, we got what we need now. Like, So the people we're contracted with that we're paying, we're having real communication issues with. So one of the questions I had asked the lady from the state was, I know you can't make recommendations, but just out of curiosity, do you guys keep a list of companies that do this service? And she quickly sent me a list that they provided. So I think it's worth at least vetting whether we want to go back out to bid. And if we decide to, we'll come back in a couple months. It's just very frustrating to spend time hunting down someone that you're paying to do a service just to communicate. It's not that, because the first communication we got on this topic from them was a bill saying that we spent $400 on an emergency visit out to your site to do the testing. And so I back to them, I'm like, why do we have a bill for something we haven't even talked? Very confusing. Point is, it's resolved now. Good news, we're not in violation. But certainly something that I think could be a future topic for us to talk about, as far as whether we want to see if there's other options. There may not be other options, but
Is that a new communication issue since they were bought, sold, whatever?
oh, I don't think so. But Carrie can speak to
No,
that more than I could.
I mean, they're known in the community for having a lot of, I'd say, administrative problems and scheduling things.
Oh, yes, I would like that.
But we've also, it's been a lot, I think, what them forgetting to file things at the state and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, isn't it their responsibility? Like, that's why we're paying them.
Yes. And
Yes.
and the lack of simple communication. Hey, we're on it. We'll get back to you as soon as we have, hey, yes, what, just a 10-second email resolves a lot of the issues. We're not asking for you to have it fixed today. Mistakes happen. Got it. But the lack of simple communication is just unfathomable to me, because it takes us more time to be calling and emailing. And I told Carrie, I said, if I didn't get this resolved this week, my plan was just to go up to Coopville, knock on the door, because that's where they'll get it.
Because of it, and because of
Right.
the sale to Northwest Natural Waters. So fees became increased after that because of like sort of administrative extra layer of cost.
So we're not sure there's a lot of other options out there. And they are doing the work. It's just they're not communicating. I mean, to me, the biggest issue is the communication. Okay, if we're not in compliance because things weren't happening, but they were notified in May. And for me to have to make the first communication in August, because that's when I was notified. Because that's when I asked the state, why wasn't I notified in May? They said, well, they just notify the water people. They don't notify the owner. I said, well, can that change? Because it'd be nice if I heard that at the same time. Because then I could start as the person who has the contract. But it was just weird. It's just, I don't mind people saying no. I don't like being ignored. And that's what it kind of feels like. And when you're paying someone for a service, it's strange to be ignored. So for now, it's resolved, and we'll look at other options soon. Just FYI, we mentioned the lawnmower before. That this was this year's mower that Tom got. It was received this week. Approved at a previous board meeting. It did come in higher, about $8,000 higher than what was approved. It was approved at about $107,000. It came in at $108.15. About $5,500 of that was because of tariffs, which we did ask them to document and clarify, not just take them at their word. And other ones were just some tax miscalculations. So we've got it covered within our budget. It's fine, but just because there was a difference in what you approved by 8,000, this just notifying you that that's what happened. Office is closed on Veterans Day in a couple weeks, week after the election, and budget hearings next month. Any questions about the staff report? Yes.
Are we doing two, or did that date get moved up? Wasn't that always January?
It's registration.
Oh,
Registration.
Oh, that's registration.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
just one. Sky's favorite day of the year. Nothing better.
Triathlon.
You're right. Second favorite day of the year. What were you thinking? So, okay. Well, that is it for my staff report.
Moving on to unfinished business comprehensive plan program.
All fun stuff going on here. Yeah, I mentioned last month we've got a drone photographer now. So he came out 3 weeks in a row doing some pictures during this portion. Now he's going to come out monthly for the rest of the project. just showing us the progress. I'll show you another more fun picture in a second. But let's start with pickleball. There were some delays that is delaying the courts open to probably early November. So the update from what I sent to you on Friday, due to weather limitations, it's a little cold and wet right now. They can't lay the sports court surfacing down. So that's not going to happen until spring. So would be on the pickleball. Barry in particular was notified. He actually thought it was the better idea to wait till spring instead of risking putting it down too soon. So we'll do a ribbon cutting or something like that now in spring when the new courts are there. He also mentioned, or someone mentioned that you're also going to get some of the snowbirds back in spring that are gone now. You got people that have left now. So we'll do a celebration in the spring for this. Until then, temporary lines are going to be added so they can start playing pretty soon. So as soon as the courts are ready, we'll just the contractor will lay lines down so that there'll be white lines on the asphalt, similar to what they had in the parking lot, just much nicer. The delay until spring shouldn't cost us any more money because the delay was really due to their subcontractors not being here. They had a week-long fencing delay because their fencing company didn't show up. They hired a concrete company that didn't show up, and they ended up having to do the concrete work themselves. So had they stayed on their schedule that was submitted to us when we were supposed to have the courts open by mid-October, it would have been perfect weather in early October, as you know. So our architect sent them a detailed weather report from early October saying this was the plan and it didn't happen. So we anticipate zero cost to us because it's not our fault that it's being moved. They had 100 days to complete the project, which obviously the spring will be much after. So I think we should be okay. We are meeting tomorrow morning with the Trico to discuss this. I'm sure they may have different opinions. And this isn't a great picture. It's a little bit foggy out there, but this is the current picture from today. You'll see right here, so here's what they have left to do. This fencing here isn't in yet because they're still going in this way, but oh, why is my mouse not working? Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, you'll see on the bottom of the screen, the fencing here is the only fencing that isn't installed is this little sectional on the bottom. And that's just simply because they're still accessing the courts that way. So that plus the hydro seeding on the side and the nets obviously will be the last thing to go up because you don't want people playing on them before it's ready to go. But everything else is pretty much, and the ADA parking lot has to be lined. Those are some of the things. So it's pretty close to being done as far as playability. And then it's got to be striped for people to be able to play. So you can't see it in this well because it all looks like it's not there, but all the fencing is in around the edges. The gates are in. It looks really good. And so November 5th. So anyways, a long story short, it's looking good. Not quite there yet. Tomorrow morning at our weekly meeting, I'm expecting a more firm update that, hey, we should be done by now, so that we can kind of give the pickleball community a heads up that it's going to be available pretty soon. But it looks great. It looks.
Is that fence coating like a nylon or a powder coat? Smooth?
Yes.
Painted galvanized?
No, it's nice. And over top of the fence will be covers. Those aren't put in yet either. So some nice industrial plastic, that thick plastic will go over the top. So if you're leaning on the 4-foot fence, it'll look nice. So really happy that you guys authorized the curbing. The curbing is I'm doing the thing again. Around the bottom is the nice 12-inch curbing. It looks so much better than, it would look fine without it, but I think that was a really good decision. And you're certainly welcome to go out there anytime you want to, if you just want to see it.
I'll give you a little community positive pump right now.
Okay.
The high school class came in, block fit class.
Yeah.
Teacher as well.
Okay.
Have you seen the pickleball courts up there? Mr. J, it's awesome.
Good.
There's pickleball courts up there. But their reaction is really cool
Joy.
because it's a tutorial.
Yeah.
They haven't been monitoring, or they're not,
Right.
they didn't vote to weigh in on pickleball thing. But this is their reaction, and it's really cool. These are just your average high school students that are jazzed because they walked by and they saw what was there. So that was pretty cool.
That is
Followed
cool.
by the PE teacher asking me if I knew anything about it.
Depends rather you got a complaint. Yeah.
So it's cool.
But I'm real happy, and it's really a cool area. And I think it's not, even when it's open, it's not gonna be done yet, because the opportunity to add tables or gazebo or all the other stuff that we can kind of dream a little bit as far as making this into more of a destination, but real excited for where that's at. So that is the appetizer. Onto the entree
They probably get some decent sun there.
there. Yeah,
at the pickleball
yeah,
course.
yeah, it does. Onto the entree meal, which is the pool. Everything's on schedule. Everything's going fine so far. As we mentioned earlier, there was some groundwork causing some challenges, but we're working on that. I ordered a new banner for the fence line that says, coming in 2027, the future home of, that has our logo on it. May have noticed the other one didn't, which is fine. So I'm going to put that up. Technically, we had to ask permission from Lincoln because it's their fencing, and they said no problem. So we'll be putting that up here in the next week or so people can get a little excited. So yeah, and then this is the most recent drone picture. Actually, the site looks a lot different even now as you look, but it is kind of cool to see it all coming together. Now it's a lot smoother. The logs are out of there, fencing's up. But yeah, just really exciting. And so far, outside of a lot of logistical stuff we're wrestling with, the project overall is going really well, and so far so good.
Ask me specifically about the trees and
Mhm.
the lack of.
Yep.
Like, is there a wash there with the groundwork, or what happens to all the lumber?
Yeah, there's two piles. There's the harvestable that they can sell, and then there's the not kind that they can grind up. So for about 3 or 4 days, they had the grinder out there and they were grinding a lot of this stuff. That was fun. But part of the contract is the earthwork guys get to harvest and sell whatever lumber's on the property. So that's part of what keeps the bids down. So
Gotcha.
that all belongs to them, because we've gotten calls on people want
The chips.
chips. But we've also got calls on, I had one lady want a very specific tree that she wanted. And all I said was, I cannot authorize that, but no one's here on the weekend. I didn't say that. But
The egg department chips and
yeah,
kind of-
it's not ours, is what we'd say. But that site was wide open until they put that fencing up. So I got to believe, I wouldn't be surprised if someone after 5 o'clock drove their truck down there, because there was nothing that was stopping them. I'm just saying. And quite honestly, I don't think they would have cared. I don't think the chips have that much value compared to the logs. I think it's just one less thing they had to do. But so far it's really exciting, and the community input's been positive. We haven't had anyone complaining about the amount of trees or the noise or the clear. Haven't had anything but positive feedback so far. So good. That's good. And there's no one here for public comment, which is good. Right. This is the most cleared it's been. So if someone was going to come and complain, this would have been the night.
What's the rough size off the top of your head of that? Your acreage.
Of the whole size?
Yeah.
We're clearing about 4 acres of trees total, but that includes the lost site, the septic, and also includes the new water tank. So I want to say this particular parcel here is about 1.8. 1.8. I could be wrong on that. That's what I'm remembering, because I think it was pretty close. This and the lost site. If you go up to Tom's shop and see the upper field, I mean that's like because it's a big section, because that drain field, and then there's got to be a 30-foot. You had to take a 30-foot parameter around it that had to be cleared because of root intrusion and other things that could happen. So you have this whole. It's a big section that got cleared up there too. So, and we did have a couple of people asking about that. Not upset, curious, because you can see it from the trail. So they came in asking, what's going on? Are you building a second pool? No, we're not. So anyway, so it's an interesting.
Water retention on this.
Say again.
This side, the side closest to us.
The stormwater is in the bottom right. Yeah. Yep.
And that's going to be all stuff that I mean, obviously.
Yep.
Right.
That was part of the discussion on that groundwork.
That's
Was
what I was
rather we could take the dirt from here and fill it over here. There's a risk to that. Moderated risk, but there's a risk because when you transport dirt, it messes with its whatever it is. I'm not a dirt guy, but they said there's a risk if you move dirt from one location to another that it may not settle the way you want it to. The structural fill is really the only way that they're saying it's 100% it's going to settle right. Because over top of the dirt, you're putting rocks, and over top of the rocks, you're putting asphalt. So you want the dirt to be right So, but quite honestly, if that's the only section of dirt we're dealing with on this property, I'll be thrilled. Right? I mean, it's not under the building. It's not spaces that would be real dangerous. So yeah, lots of moving parts, but man, it's so far both projects are plugging along. So good stuff. So any other questions? Otherwise, that wraps up our comprehensive program report. Yeah, just wanted to just update everyone on the informational efforts that we made regarding the levy. We did have 2 successful public meetings, one at Trinity Lutheran Church that had 21 residents in attendance. That was on September 24th. The second one was at the Elementary South Campus right here. We had around 16 people in attendance. I counted once. I think that number was right about that. That was on October 7th. Impacted a little bit by the fact maybe that the Mariner game was delayed into that meeting. Probably didn't help. Both meetings, I presented a PowerPoint presentation on the facts of the levy. I also provided a paper copy of the presentation. And also there's a copy of the presentation on our website. So questions at the meetings varied on topics of how we came up with the numbers we did, questions about the Aquatic Center, and other related topics. Staff and commissioners stayed after each meeting to talk further with interested participants. The direct mailer was mailed out on September 26th. This spurred calls and questions from the public. I think the mailer was effective because we got a lot of people going, whoa, what's this? So we were happy to answer that. We love when people ask us the question versus going on social media or other avenues to get their information. Coffee with the director. We've had several participants pretty much ever since the first week. We've had people every week. Different people, different topics. Some people want to talk about the numbers of the levy. Some person want to talk about the ecology of this. Other people want to talk about how we're going to find staff. I mean, just a whole variety of topics. And so it's been real successful, I think, just to have people in. I was telling Jennifer earlier, one of the consistent themes of every time after coffee with the director, they stop and say, I just really appreciate that you guys have made time for this kind of interaction. They may not agree with the numbers. They may not like the numbers. They may not be voting yes, but they appreciate just that we're just being as transparent as we can. So and that's all we ask.
Do you feel this would be a good practice to continue after the levy?
Maybe. If levy doesn't pass, yes. I think maybe a monthly thing or something like that. It is a time suck in a very busy time because it's not usually an hour. It's usually an hour and a half, and it's usually followed up by a lot of other things. So a monthly something like this that was just making people make it available. People could talk about the trails or the other things too. Yes, because it's been successful, and who doesn't like coffee? Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. So there is a political action committee that was formed to encourage people to vote yes. This is not directly related to us. This is a private citizens, but that is the owners of those yard signs that you see. Also the people that are out at Bayview and places like that, encouraging people to vote yes. And regardless of the outcome, staff have been pleased with the dialogue and sharing out of information. One of the themes of the public meeting, especially the last one, was you've got to, people just don't know. People don't know. And I just responded with, I don't know what else we can do to, besides knocking on every individual door. If they want to know, we've, I think, done a lot to give them opportunities to find out. And even saying that, listen, if you can't make coffee with the director, email me. It's hard to get me on the phone right now and don't do a drop-in, but email me, I'll respond. So there's lots of ways for people to get this information still. And so I've been pleased right now that the dialogue's happening. And I think we've done as much as we can to let people know, to be as transparent as we can. And at the end of the day, they're going to vote yes or they're going to vote no, and we'll respond accordingly. And I think that's, even the people that were very anti-levy at these meetings, I think walked away thanking us. And I think that meant something because, as I said at the beginning of each meeting, we're not here to convince you. We're just here to tell you how we came up with this and let you decide what you want to do with your vote. And I think that kind of approach works because we're all in the same community. We're not, isn't like we're coming from off island and telling you we want you to pay more taxes, right? Yeah, exactly. We're all in the same boat. So anyway, so I've been very happy, I think, with the information so far. And I think so has the people that have reached out, and it slowed down. We only had one person for coffee with the director this week, and the emails and the phone calls have kind of slowed down a little bit. I think people that had questions as we're coming to 13 days from the election, have slowed down a little bit. Ballots are now in people's hands and people have started voting. So
Yeah, hats off to you, Brian, on your presentation. That is a big piece of it. In all honesty, for the whole time in my head, I'm thinking, and fellow commissioners will remember the Trust and Trails and how many people were involved. And can we meet? Can we talk more about this? And what I had foreseen is the minute we took those trees down, okay, that's a lot more than what we talked about with the Trust and Trails. And that didn't happen. But I think part of that is simply the way you presented it. You were organized. There was a plan. It's hard to argue against something like that, when it's kind of common sense and you can tell that thought's been put into it. So,
right. Yeah.
Thank you.
You can disagree, but it's hard to argue, right? You can come to a different conclusion than we did, but yeah. And that's what, we're not here to debate. We're not here to argue. We're going to give you information. And then if 60% of you agree with that information, then we'll go this way. And if 41% of you don't agree, we'll go that way. Thank you. And I think it's big, and you guys being at the meetings is a big deal, and sticking out afterwards and just being present is, it's all part of it. And I think we're in a good spot. I honestly don't know how the election is going to turn out. We'll see. It'll be an interesting evening. So get your popcorn now. We have no baseball to watch now, so we can sit around for election results. Too soon?
So
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Oh, yeah. Is it okay?
I'm still looking for your yard signs. I haven't seen them anywhere.
Yeah. The paparazzi is the worst part of it.
That's awesome. That's all I got, Madam Chair. And oops, my computer just went crazy. Stopping recording. 3.